on time too, man. That's not too shabby. But yeah, welcome to the Boneyard, man. What's today? Tuesday? Man, we got a very special guest all the way from. I guess it's pretty warm. It's kind of warm down where you are, eh?
Warm compared to you. Yeah, we're
Yeah, yeah.
45, 50 degrees. Yeah.
That's not too bad. Yeah, that's a little better. But yeah, introduce yourself, man, and let everyone know what band you're out of.
So, yeah, my name is Gray Tyson. I am the front man for the band Lords and Liars. Once again, out of North Carolina, United States of America.
Yeah, yeah. I know your name got me right away. So I guess my first question, man, where does the being from the South Bend, is that like where does the name come from? You know?
Actually, when we were forming it, Lords and Liars, I had a period where I was actually very fascinated with Old English, what you would consider medieval times or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
The social and political dynamics of Europe back in those days when, like, the terms we always use, like lords and whatnot, had extreme political sway, and seeing that the powers and sways that they had in those days kind of having a mirror to really no different than our own times. And I don't know, just reading, and please don't get me wrong, I do not consider myself an expert. I'm not I'm not a historian or anything, but I'm just saying is when I was reading some things that were like documented back then, and what little documentation, and people couldn't even have read back then anyway. It was only a select few that could.
Mm-hmm.
I just became kind of fascinated with that, and some of the terms and phrases that I kept running across. I just and it seemed really not much different than a lot of what we experience now. We have a higher class that's above us all. And
yeah, of course.
Right. They decree what they decree, and we are just existing within it. And, all throughout the ages, it seems like, I mean, I'm sure it's not like I know any of the people, but we have good folks and people that have nefarious intentions, and there's lies and truths in between. And that's when I settled on the name Lords and Liars. I just thought it was kind of fitting. That's where the name of the group came from. And
that's pretty cool, actually. I love hearing the backstories, right?
Side note, one big thing I did, and this is increasingly getting more difficult as the years march on, was to come up with something that was original. I just started rattling off any name that I could think of that I would like, and the first thing I would do was just Google it to see 15 other bands. You know what I mean? Man, yeah. Other bands, that already had the same name, because that's back when I was I'm not sure how old you are. I'm 46.
So, I'm just right below you, 42 myself. So
yeah. So back when we were coming up, like, and even I talked to my parents about this, like back in the 60s and stuff. Every little community had its own little band, or maybe one as one band. But now, like, every community has like 15 bands. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's a whole lot harder to come up with something original. And of course now we have instant access to the globe. So
basically anything you want, whether it's music or say just information or anything, whether, like you said, you get the right source and you get the real information, or you get the fucking blotter that, fall down that
Yeah,
rabbit hole.
right, and you have no idea. But one of the things I did was, like I said, when coming up with the name was just to see what was out there. And I didn't want to pick a name that had 30,000 other already used names, and we settled on that with
Yeah.
my band members at the time, and I think it works well. I still enjoy it. Yeah.
I know with the show here, I've come up with a name like 6 years ago. I guess it is now, according to the memories, right? And you Google it, I'm like bottom of the page. There's a million boneyards. I got sucked down that route. I'm already too late. I'm already 5, 6 years in. That is what it is at this point, right? But I'm starting to watch these scrap yards. There's one guy's got like he's finding mammoth tucks all over his land and shit, called the boneyard. Like you get lost in it sometimes, right? Like you said, dude.
Yeah.
To come up on top on that Google search, to have that original name in that sense, that helps out a huge
I did see there is admittedly, I haven't read it yet, but there is apparently a novel out there called Lords and Liars, and I've said to myself, I just have not had the time. I know, right? It apparently,
yeah.
And I wish the author well, and I hope if he ever hears us, I hope he doesn't get pissed off. But
yeah,
you know what I'm saying. And
yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna read it at some point. I hope it's good.
Yeah, it better be, right? Give a fucking 1-star review on Amazon, right? But what's the community like down there? Like, is the local radio playing your stuff, or are you getting some airplay across the radios and stuff?
Not particularly. I am in it is a good market.
Yeah.
But it is, and I would call it a saturated market.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bands, and I'm not even saying that like that's a bad thing, but I physically live in a fairly, for Eastern North Carolina, a fairly rural area, so we have to travel anytime.
Every
show, we're going at least an hour or two down the road minimum. But the scene here, there are good bands, and we're I would say pretty tight. But you also have, like, if there's 4 clubs in an area, and I'm sure actually, it's a good question for you as well, and we'll get to this in a moment. But with heavier style music nowadays, I would say that, if you take any town or community, there's only going to be a handful of people that dig what you're doing. And if there's 4 or 5 shows in that area, then that pool is going to be dispersed. You know what I mean? Between all of the shows going on. And then if you throw on top a national level band coming in, then you can forget it. I mean, because I'm not saying like I blame anybody. If the fucking Melvins are coming through, I want to go see them too.
I don't want to be playing over here when I could be moshing over there, right?
Yeah. So that's actually one thing that when it comes down now, obviously, we're only getting back into try and get back out there live. The pandemic happened or whatever.
Yeah.
Even right before coronavirus came on us, I actually started trying to, if anybody hit me up for a gig, or we were looking at the calendar, the first thing I would do was to look at the larger venues in the area. And if some larger band was coming through, I would be, no, there's no reason. Yeah,
Mhm.
you know what I mean. I mean, and
I
we
heard
even
that.
did, and my lesson with that was we had a gig book one time, and small venues, you know what I mean. Um, but the same after we booked the gig, I happened to just look at what was going out there, and Kiss was playing at a
Oh,
stadium in my area.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and that's when I was like, why didn't I look first? You know what I'm
Research
saying?
is key, man. Like
Yeah,
I noticed now that I'm
exactly. Yeah,
into kind of getting venues opened up to where I can bring in some bands and stuff, right? Now it's planning the band out to the venue date. It's like which band could actually play. You know, if you reach out to too many, now I've got three bands I gotta say sorry. You know, or you
hey,
get
you know what? Yeah, you know what's funny with booking one time? I'm actually in several groups, but one of my other band, Safe Word, um, one of our members,
we
yeah,
could go into
and
that in a bit.
yeah, absolutely, and that band's more of a thrash punk band. Lords and Liars is more of a eclectic outfit, and
Mhm.
we'll talk about that in a minute. But our guitarist and bassist in that group does most of the booking stuff. But it was really funny. We were working on a show one time, and my guitarist actually said he intentionally overbooked that a show, like a big show,
Yeah,
knowing that at least one of the bands wouldn't show up because that's
yeah.
normally how it goes.
It's so
Every
true, though.
band showed up. Every
No.
band showed up on time, and he was like,
Ah,
"What am I? It was the first time. You know what I mean? That everybody actually showed up on time, which is extremely rare."
no, especially in this business too, man, because you're not just dealing with one person. Sometimes it's four or five people. Guaranteed, one out of five is gonna be late. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's
And
not
you know,
everybody,
it's crazy.
right? Like, it's
It's
so much
almost a
stress. I don't
miracle.
know why I'm getting into it, right? But I love it though. That
Yeah,
pressure, you know. It's like you got to make it happen regardless, you know.
yeah,
Like I'm at a couple shows where some of the mates they book, you got it all done, and then like 4 weeks before or 3 weeks they're like, I don't have a passport, I can't go to that concert, you know, I can't play now. Like, why did you say that when we booked you? Like, why didn't you
yeah,
get your passport? You know, what's going on here,
yeah.
brother? You know, but
And that's one thing that I have noticed, or not noticed, am appreciative of in this group. My all my current projects is growing up through my teenage years. I've always lived here. I was not ever one to move around, but to find a group of musicians that is professional, even though we're not like signed professionals,
yeah,
but people being professional. Like that's one thing that I consider very fortunate for
oh,
myself right now
yeah,
is that I have a group of people, excuse me, that everybody shows up on time. You know what I mean?
mm. It's very
That's a
professional
big,
in that sense.
yeah. That's one of the biggest things that I've noticed about being in a band that has derailed some projects is not only the shows, but showing up to practice on time.
Well, that's where that hostility before you even get on stage comes from. You know, that just eventually boils over. Like, all right, he was late one day. Now he's late 4 days out of five. You know, and it's like, come on, man. You know, that being late comes
Yeah,
not practicing. So now he's behind your skill level in that sense when it comes to playing that song at that moment, right? Like,
yeah.
it, you need that
That's one of the
feel,
biggest.
especially live. Like, you can't just stand in one spot play note for note every show. Like, you know, you can, I guess, right? But
yeah, but and that's one big thing I've seen. I think with even going back to the '90s, you know, I just being through band after band after band because I will always play music, always. Like that's me
yeah,
quitting music is never on the table,
yeah, no,
regardless of what project
never,
it is.
yeah.
But one thing I've seen is that, you know, someone, even if they can be an amazingly talented musician, but if you don't know whether or not they're going to show up to practice or the gig or wherever, even if it's meeting at the van to get in the van and go to the show,
Yeah,
if
it's
you
almost
can't rely on that, you know,
that makes
that's
it
going to be
real
a
tough,
derail.
man. Yeah, yeah, that just festers and it burns, right? And it just sits there for everybody, right? Until and then now all of a sudden, because of that, now smaller things. Oh, I hate how he chews his fucking food. You know how you know. Oh, I hate how he drinks his soda. That was just everything about that person. You just is negative, right?
Yeah.
And to get out of that mindset is very hard, especially when it comes to a business, as you say, like taking it professionally. Like it'd be nice to just do this, you know. But you know, you
And
can't
that's
even
one
work at
thing.
Pizza Hut if you don't show up on time. You know, like so.
Yeah,
McDonald's will even fire you for that shit, right? Like,
yeah, and one thing that I am extremely fortunate in is that the groups I'm in now is everybody's got their shit together.
mm,
Everybody shows up, you know, and not only shows up for the gigs, but shows up for the practice, you know,
mm,
and if you're not going to be talented at practice or you're not going to be good at practice, you're not going to be good to me. You're
I'm
not
on
going
the
to be
same
good on
level as
stage.
you when it comes to that, man. You have to put your time in before you step on the stage because you can't just go up and because you didn't practice now you're just staring at your guitar, you're not moving. These people just paid good
Yeah.
money, whether it was $5, $30, $100. They want to see a show, man. You got to do
Yeah.
something, right?
That's a good point. That's a good point you bring up. And actually, we do this. Well, actually, let me step back just a moment. A little
Yep.
background on Lords and Liars. Of course, I know you've seen the Killdozer video.
Yeah. Yeah.
The the bass player Jen. She's actually we're married.
Oh, okay.
That's my yeah. So
Yeah,
that's a
you're one son.
fortunate thing
Oh,
too.
okay, that's
Is
cool. Yeah.
yeah. So we get to sit around and jam on stuff and create all the time. Um, but Steve and Kenny, Steve's the drummer, Kenny's the guitarist. They're phenomenal musicians, and I actually, it's cool to be around and in a room in that group. I actually consider myself the least talented one in the group.
Mm,
Like Jen, we both play bass, but she is way more of a precise bass player than I am.
mm.
I'm a
You're
little
like
more
me when
sloppy.
it's on bass. I just let it slide. I'm a little sloppy, but you know that's
Yeah,
just how
yeah,
I play bass. I'll never be that clean, precise bass player ever. Like it just, I can't even do
yeah.
that with
Like
guitar.
Jen is way more drilled. Like I might come up with a general idea of something,
Mhm,
but like once the riff or the part is down, like she drills it, and that's a beautiful thing to see.
mhm,
Um, and Steve and Kenny are the same way, and that's one of the things that's been so cool to me with amassing these musicians. It is the like Kenny, the guitarist. His background is more so straight up death metal, and he's on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
all that stuff.
Morbid Angel and stuff like that. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah, all that stuff. And I'll tell you something. He will rattle off bands I ain't never heard of. I mean, he is an expert in the history of metal. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll have to score him on one night. Him and I can go deep into the history of actual metal, you know? That'd be killer.
Steve, his major influences are Rush, Tool, and like Gene Krupa. He has a interest in jazz. So just mixing all that stuff together is exactly what I wanted to do. So it's even one of the best. Obviously, I'm here trying to toot my own horn or our own horn.
That's what we're here for, Fred.
Right, yeah. It actually, it's funny that you say that. It always gets me when people are, oh, somebody's self-promoting. Well, of course I'm fucking self-promoting.
How else do you get your name out there? You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. But one of the door guys at a venue we recently played said, man, y'all are like metal with a twist. And I was like, that's exactly what I'm going for.
Right.
You know, yeah.
There's so many genres now, you know. Everyone's like, what do you listen to? I'm like, metal, baby. Like, I like my heavy metal. They're like, oh, death metal, thrash metal, speed metal. I'm like, I just like metal, bud. Like heavy metal. I like it all, but, you know. But.
I will say this, and I've had these thoughts over the last few years. I'm like, and I know it's a product of age, whatever, but I'm like,
that's what I was wondering if I just growing into that age now, right? There is like prog metal, and then like shit, I've probably never even heard of. There's 6 more genres as we're speaking being made as we speak, right? Like,
yes, and I'm just like, whew, I mean, in my heart, I enjoy heavy music, but if the conversation devolves into what's the difference between doom, glam, power metal, I can't.
Yeah, I'm like, that's the distinction, you know.
Yeah, if the tune is solid and it's good, I'm in. But I can't talk to you about what genre or whatever. I
was like, when I jam, what do you jam? I'm like, I jam a lot of metal, I guess. But I'm collaborating with Andrew Joseph and Nick Naga over there, Past Life, for I'm just doing some heavy riffs, and then they're going to take it and chop it and make beats and shit out of it and fucking, you know, do a whole thing with it, right? And I'll be sending my stuff to a good buddy of mine out of, he's the drummer for Last Dance Among Wolves, play guitar for Dead Man's Prophecy, but he's going to probably do all the drum tracks for the whole CD, right, for the whole album, so we'll see how that goes, and then I'll pass it all out to everybody right here. Check this out. What can you do with this? Have you guys do shit over top of it? Right?
Do y'all do a lot of that? Like, actually, that's a good question. In today's day and age, do you do a lot of remote work? Like
with the music,
do you record?
Oh, go ahead. Like,
no, you record riffs and then you'll email like the actual tracks to someone else and like way away.
So, most people, like where I am, most of the guys I'm collaborating with are throughout the states, California, Texas, right? Montreal is going to be a big influence on this record. They're crushing it with their metal scene right now. So I've got quite a few bands that are going to be sending stuff out of Montreal. Probably be half the album will be guys and gals and stuff in these bands out of Montreal, right? And then we'll be working with in the Kingdom of Nightmares and Enemy out of Maine there. There'll be a couple of their members will be appearing on the track as well. So I'm trying to do a whole collaboration album, and then when I buy my band and build this festival, all the bands that I collab with, I come on and do an encore with them.
Oh, that'll be amazing. Yeah.
Kind of like the whole, dream big or go home kind of deal, right? So
No, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, I've never even thought about doing anything like that. No, that's awesome. Yeah.
that's our goal this year, to have land, be able to work on it, and start building stage and parking and camping and stuff like that, right? And see how it goes. Right? See how much land I can get.
Yeah. That's an ass ton of work. Yeah.
And then,
I've never even
it's just
thought about trying to put on a
to the bands in that sense, I've always wanted a stage for them. Oh, you want to play? Here's a stage. How we make it a big festival, right? So,
yeah.
off with our little venues, our seats now, but just gotta build that stage, and we're ready to go. So, but you're still alive for sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll be looking for land. I'll probably end up buying the southern states there, probably on the west coast, right? Get out in the desert somewhere where no one's around anyways, right?
Mm.
But
Ooh.
we'll see.
You talking about a big yeah.
Yeah, I got a couple people, not so much with the finances, but they'll help me do the work when it comes to that. Because I can build the stage myself. I fucking work construction my whole life. I started making a concrete stage, just a pad, but I got to bring mine up, have little functions where lights and stuff can come in and out. Or if you want to deal with pyrotechnics, well, that part taken care of as well, right? Already wired in, ready to go for whenever you want flames. Hit this button, not stand here. When done, right? That's another thing of practice and rehearsal. When you do start to get into your pyrotechnic or even the lights, where you want to be blinded on stage or burnt, that'd be crazy, right? Like,
so way back,
yeah,
in my teenage days,
Oop. Looks like he froze up, so we're just waiting for him to come back in. He was just about to go into a story there. Let's see if we bring him back here. There we go. I am back. But Gary is gone. So, give me a second to email him. We'll put on some tunes and we'll be right back. All right. So, see, if not, we are definitely going to have him back on and finish off that story. But I want to sort of apologize for the technical difficulties, but we're going to call it a night for now unless he gets back to me in the next 10 minutes, and then we'll just jump back in live. But until then, man, play loud, play proud, and you got to remember, check us out Friday, Saturday. We're on Pet Rock Radio. We're on Liquid Fire Radio in the evenings. We got a huge announcement coming up soon with EP and I over at AP Records and the Boneyard collabing on a bunch of shit here. And then, other than that, sorry, that was rude. But we'll go ahead and call it a night, man. And I got a lot of 7 hours of driving tomorrow to do before my day's done, you know. So you guys play loud, play proud, and we'll talk to you guys